The worst karma comes from this, and you do it daily. It is not lying. It is not cheating, not even stealing. My dear friend and seeker of truth, calmly listen to these words that come to you not as mere sounds, but as vibrations that can penetrate into the deepest part of your heart. Today we're going to speak of a silent mystery, of an invisible law that nevertheless shapes every aspect of your life, and that often goes unnoticed because we do not recognize it in its most subtle form. Many think that the worst karma arises from great actions, from dramatic acts like stealing, lying, or cheating, from those decisions that clearly mark the lives of others. And yes, those actions generate consequences that inevitably return. But the great spiritual masters have pointed to something even deeper, more constant, and more dangerous than those visible actions: the silent thoughts that you feed in your mind at every instant. Let me ask you sincerely, how many times a day do you silently criticize someone, even if you never utter a word? How many times do you feel envy for a brother, a colleague, a neighbor, even though you smile outwardly? How many times do you judge, condemn, despise, even in those fleeting little thoughts that seem harmless? The human mind is a fertile garden, and every thought is a seed. What you plant today in the soil of your consciousness will be the fruit you harvest tomorrow in your life. That is how the vibratory law, the law of karma, works. It doesn't matter if you do it in a whisper or in the depths of your mind. Every thought is living energy that leaves you like a wave, touches the person it is directed to, and returns to you, multiplied. And here lies the silent trap. You may harm someone with your hands once in a lifetime. You may wound with your words a few times, but with your thoughts you can wound the same person hundreds of times a day. And although the external world may not notice it, although your face may show courtesy and your mouth may pronounce kindness, the universe has already recorded that vibration. For creation does not respond to appearances, but to the real energy you radiate. Your thoughts are invisible arrows that come and go without rest. And each poisoned arrow you launch with anger, with criticism, or with contempt returns to you, bringing with it the same poison you sowed. Think about this. If every day of your life you send dozens, hundreds of thoughts of judgment, jealousy, comparison, then you're creating thousands of invisible threads that bind you to those emotions. You think you're simply thinking of someone, but in truth you are weaving an energetic tie with that person. If your thoughts are filled with love, gratitude, and understanding, your station broadcasts that luminous melody, and life responds by bringing back experiences that resonate with that frequency. But if your thoughts are filled with criticism, fear, jealousy, or anger, your station transmits those dark waves, and the similar returns to you again and again. Life is like a perfect mirror. It reflects with precision what you project, not what you pretend. Look around you. Do you wonder why you attract people who seem to repeat themselves on your path? Why you face the same conflicts again and again? Why your life sometimes seems like a circle in which you fall into the same pits? The answer may lie in the thoughts you repeat without realizing it. For what you feed in your mind is what you sow in your destiny. Many think, but I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't said anything to anyone. I haven't acted unjustly. And they forget that in silence, they may have spent years criticizing others, condemning in their minds, comparing and judging. That is karma in motion. That is the invisible thread that binds you. The great danger of this karma of thought is that it repeats without pause. An external action may happen from time to time, but the mind, if it is not watched, produces thousands of thoughts every day. If among those thousands the majority are tinged with negativity, judgments, or resentments, then the seed of suffering is being constantly planted. The result is inevitable. The outer life will reflect that inner sowing. Let me explain it with a simple image. Think of a fertile field. The farmer can choose to plant flowers or to plant thorns. The soil does not judge, does not distinguish. It simply accepts what it receives. If you plant roses, roses will grow. If you plant bitter weeds will grow. In the same way, your mind is that field. The universe is the soil that receives your thoughts and makes them bloom in your experience. It does not matter if you say, I didn't want to think badly. The soil does not ask about your intentions. It simply responds to what you have put into it. And what you have put are your thoughts. That is why the wise insist, guard your mind even more than your tongue. For the tongue may wound once in a while, but the mind, if undisciplined, wounds without rest. Now, then, how does this karma of thought manifest in real life? It may appear as a repetitive pattern of conflicts, as problems that seem to have no explanation, as a sadness that you don't know where it comes from. And yet, if you examine your interior, you will discover that for years you have been feeding thoughts of complaint, comparison, fear. Those thoughts became the energy that now attracts those experiences. It is not a punishment, it is a mirror. The universe does not punish, it only reflects. The good news is that this circle can be broken. You are not condemned to forever repeat the same patterns of thought. Every time you become aware of a harmful thought, you have the power to transform it. In the moment you recognize, I am silently criticizing, I am wishing ill, I am envying, you can stop and decide, I'm going to send another vibration. And in that instant, you can transform an arrow into a flower. You can choose to send peace, blessing, understanding. And when you do this, you not only free the other person from your negative energy, you also free yourself from the chain you were creating. Imagine someone has hurt you. Your mind wants to replay the scene, to remember it over and over, like a movie that doesn't end. Each repetition is a thought sent, an arrow launched. If you repeat it 100 times in your mind, you have sent 100 arrows. That is silent karma. But if instead of repeating the pain, you choose to send a thought of peace, may he find wisdom, may he find peace, may his heart heal, then you are sowing flowers where before there were thorns. And those flowers not only reach him, they also return to you, bringing you peace and healing. At first it may be hard. Perhaps your mind rebels and says, I don't want to bless, I want to judge, I want to condemn. But if you practice, if you persist, little by little the mind learns a new habit. And then the miracle happens. What before were chains of resentment become wings of freedom. The energy that was once spent on criticism is now transformed into inner peace. And that peace begins to reflect in your life. People respond to you differently, situations soften, new opportunities appear. All because you changed the vibration at the root, your thought. My dear friend, this is the secret the wise have always guarded. To master the tongue is good, but to master the mind is divine. The world values the one who speaks with courtesy, but the universe responds to the one who thinks with purity. Because the true temple where your destiny is decided is not in your words, nor in your external actions, but in the silence of your mind. There, in every thought, you are building your heaven or your hell, your freedom or your slavery. That is why today, I invite you to an exercise in sincerity. Ask yourself, what kind of thoughts do I feed in secret? What stories do I repeat in my mind again and again? Are they thoughts of kindness, gratitude, understanding? Or are they thoughts of judgment, criticism, comparison? Do not be afraid to look at it with honesty, because in that gaze your liberation begins. The most dangerous bad karma is the one created without knowing it. But the moment you become aware, the instant you light the lamp of attention, that karma already begins to dissolve. Always remember, every thought is a seed, and the garden you will walk through tomorrow is being sown today in this very instant. Ask yourself, do I want to walk tomorrow among flowers or among thorns? The choice is in your mind, in every thought you now decide to hold. And now, dear seeker of truth, let us go deeper into this silent mystery of the karma of thoughts. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a river. This river flows day and night, never stopping. Sometimes it carries crystal clear waters, full of freshness and life. Other times it is muddied with dirt, trash, and filth. But in both cases, the river does not rest. It keeps flowing. So is your mind, a continuous torrent of thoughts that never stops. And every current that flows through it carries seeds of your destiny. If the river carries purity, then it waters your fields with fertility and beauty. If the river carries filth, then it floods your fields with desolation. The river does not stop, and you cannot close it, but you can decide which waters you feed, which thoughts you let run stronger within you. Many believe that thinking has no consequences because no one else hears what they think. They believe that thought is private, enclosed, that it dies inside the mind. But the truth is that every thought is living energy, vibration that expands beyond you, waves that travel and touch life. Just as a radio emits invisible waves that expand for miles until another radio picks them up, so too your thoughts are emitted as subtle waves in the field of the universe. And life is that great receiver that returns to you, multiplied, the frequency you have sent. The question, then, is not whether your thoughts have power, but what kind of power you are releasing at each instant. Do your thoughts send peace, or do they send poison? Do they send love, or do they send fear? Do they send gratitude, or do they send complaint? Each one of those sendings is a karmic act, even if it is never expressed in words or in visible deeds. The deepest trap of mental karma is that it is constant. You may go weeks without committing a major mistake with your actions. You may even go months without hurting someone with your words. But your mind produces thousands of thoughts every day. And if within those thousands the majority are stained with criticism, envy, anger, or condemnation, then the volume of negative karma accumulated may be immense. This is the reason why many people feel they're trapped in a wheel of suffering, though they do not understand why. They think, I don't harm, I don't lie, I don't steal, I don't insult. And they forget that in silence, perhaps they have condemned hundreds of people in their minds, have fed thoughts of jealousy, pride, hatred, thousands of times. And the universe does not distinguish between what you do outside and what you think inside, because both are vibrations, both are seeds. Let me take you deeper. When in your mind you condemn someone again and again, in reality you're not only chaining him, but also yourself. Every thought creates an invisible thread between your consciousness and that of the other person. Those threads can be of light, if the thoughts are of kindness and blessing, or they can be of darkness, if the thoughts are of hatred and resentment. And the more you think of someone with anger, the thicker that thread becomes, until it turns into a chain that binds your soul to his. Then, even if you say you've forgotten, even if you don't see him anymore, in reality your mind is still tied to him. You cannot advance, because each day you tie yourself again with another thought of criticism or resentment. So karma reinforces itself like a closed circle. But listen well. In the same way that negative thoughts bind, luminous thoughts free. If you choose, even in the midst of pain, to send light, to wish peace, to silently pray for the other's well-being, the thread transforms. What was once a chain becomes a bond of understanding and finally dissolves. Then your soul is free. The other can continue on his way, and you on yours, without being entangled in the invisible net of resentment. This is the greatest power you have, to transform your thoughts into blessings. You don't need the other person to know it. You don't need him to thank you. You don't need to say it out loud. It is enough that you sincerely think it. For the universe already hears it, already records it, already returns it. Do you want to know a profound secret? The true spiritual work is not measured by how many beautiful words you say, nor even by how many kind actions you do. The true spiritual work is measured by the quality of your thoughts when no one sees you, when no one hears you, when only you are with yourself. There, in that intimate silence, your destiny is decided. Because there, in every thought, you are creating vibrations that sooner or later will return to you. That is the true altar of your life, the altar of your mind. If on that altar you place flowers of love, you will receive fragrance. If you place thorns of hatred, you will receive wounds. It is as simple and as profound as that. Now reflect. How can you begin to transform this ceaseless flow of thoughts? The first is to awaken attention, to observe yourself with honesty, not to judge yourself, but to see. Ask yourself sincere questions. How many times do I mentally repeat the mistakes of others? How many times do I compare myself to another and feel less or more? How many times do I secretly rejoice in someone's fall? Each of those answers is a seed you are sowing. And by seeing them clearly, you could decide not to feed them anymore. That is the beginning of freedom. Because while they act without your knowing, they control you. But the moment you see them, you illuminate them. And in that light, they already lose power. The second key is replacement. It is not enough to want to eliminate a negative thought. The mind cannot bear emptiness. If you simply try not to think, the thought returns stronger. But if you replace it with another, then the energy changes. For example, if judgment against someone arises in you, immediately send a thought of blessing. May he be happy. May he find wisdom. May he find peace. If envy arises, replace it with gratitude. Thank you for what I have. Thank you because there is abundance in this world. If criticism arises, replace it with compassion. We are all learning. We are all imperfect. I also make mistakes. Each replacement is like pulling out a weed and planting a flower in its place. Over time, your inner garden changes, and what once was barren ground becomes a paradise. The third key is constant practice. Do not expect to transform years of negative thoughts in a single day. It is training, like the musician who repeats his instrument, like the athlete who trains his muscles. Every day, catch a thought, transform it, replace it. At the beginning, perhaps you realize only after thinking the same thing 20 times. It will be after 10, then after 5, until one day you will see it in the very instant it is born. And that day, you will have the freedom to choose before sending it to the universe. That is true mastery, not controlling the external, but controlling the internal. The fourth key is to understand that this inner work is the greatest service you can give to the world. Many think that to serve is only to give money, to help with your hands, to offer time. And yes, all that is valuable. But the deepest service is invisible. It is to send thoughts of peace, blessing, compassion to every being. When you walk down the street and see a sad face, you can silently wish them joy. When you hear news of someone in difficulty, you can send them a thought of strength. When you think of someone who hurt you, you can send them a wish for healing. No one will know, no one will applaud, but the universe will receive it, and the effect will be real. Because every thought is energy that travels, and that energy contributes to the collective field of humanity. If you want a more luminous world, begin by sowing luminous thoughts in your own mind. And I want to tell you something more. This change not only transforms your future karma, it also heals your present. Because in the instant you replace a dark thought with one of light, your heart is lightened. You no longer need to carry resentments. You no longer need to live with envy. You no longer need to suffer from comparisons. The peace you send is the peace you receive in that very moment. It is like opening a window in a dark room. The light enters immediately, not tomorrow. So it is with the mind. When you open the window of luminous thought, fresh air enters instantly. And then your life begins to change here and now. So, my beloved friend, listen well to this call. Life invites you to be a conscious creator of your destiny. You are not a victim of what you think, you're the master. At every instant you can choose. The next thought that arises and you can be an arrow, or it could be a flower. It could be a chain, or it could be a key. You decide. In that decision, repeated thousands of times, build your future. Sow thorns, you will reap thorns. Sow flowers, you will walk among gardens. The choice is yours, and no one can make it for you. Allow me to leave you with this reflection. What thoughts do you want to choose today? What seeds do you want to plant in this very instant? Do you want to continue repeating judgments, comparisons, and resentments? Or do you want to begin to sow peace, gratitude, love, and blessing? The answer is in your heart, and the power is in your mind. Remember, the most dangerous karma is the one you create in silence. But also the most luminous karma is the one you can create in silence. Make your mind a sanctuary of light, and no darkness will be able to touch you. Make your heart a source of blessing, and your life will become a reflection of that blessing. That is the secret of the great masters. That is the path to your freedom. So from this moment, begin. Do not wait for tomorrow. Choose right now a thought of peace. Choose right now to bless someone in your silence. Choose right now to give thanks for what you have. And with that choice, you will have changed your destiny. For what you sow in this second will be the flower that blooms in your tomorrow. May the light guide your mind. May peace flood your heart. And may your soul always remember that it is free. Yay, Gurudev. If this message touched your heart and helped you better understand the journey, remembering that it is part of your karma and your spiritual growth, support our work with a super thanks so that we can continue creating transformative content with themes that inspire, help people, and bring more light to every life. Do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if it resonates with you, and share it with your friends so that our message reaches where it is needed.